Two regular people making sense of the chaos, the trying times, the breaking news, the endless outrage cycles. We come from different angles, different starting points. We're not here to scream past each other. We're here to get it right. Just honest conversation and unapologetic takes. This is political dissonance.
Welcome to Political Dissonance. My name is Everett Thiemer. Joining me is Kim Gandy, and today is Tuesday, the Tuesday after a rather crazy weekend of tweets, posts, mishaps. Basically, it made your family's get-together look like a Hallmark movie. Kim, how are you doing?
Hi, Everett. Thank you for going live yesterday and updating us on the Easter events this past weekend from a political standpoint. But today's a new day. We've got, well, of course, dominating the headlines today is Trump escalates threats against Iran as the deadline looms. And the threats are currently still happening. And I just read before we got on the air that Iran has come back and said all talks, and I think J.D. Vance has also implied that all talks have ceased. So right now we're going to bomb Israel. I'm sorry, not Israel, but Iran, and to reopen the strait. We definitely need the strait open again. That's 100% sure. But threatening a whole civilization on some of his posts is quite frightening to me. What's your thoughts, Everett?
Well, there's this constant escalation. I mean, you look at the Easter post, and then you look at the one, that everybody's talking about today, about, today being, what did he call it, Power Plant Day. There's this escalation. There is this appearance of almost being a desperate bully. This is not the way to be the leader of a country. We never know if these talks are taking place or not. President Trump seems to make these statements and put them out there, and maybe they're true in his head. But then you have so many people, you look at Iran who have said, we're not having any discussions. What do we filter out of these posts and social media things that are actual reality? I don't know anymore.
Yeah, one of the things that keeps in the back of my mind, okay, is there something he knows that we don't? I think, as being a Trump supporter, maybe not a war supporter, but, in the back of my mind, okay, is there something going on that we don't know? Is he trying to ignite a revolution with their people versus the regime? Is that a possibility? Maybe he's trying to force their hand. We do know that the younger generation, even the Gen Xers there, don't want to be under the current regime, but there is no way that they can go out and fight for the country, because the last revolution happened 2 months ago before this all started. I don't know if you remember, but they were on the streets, but people were getting killed. Thousands were getting shot, hung, for going out and speaking against their leaders. So it just makes me wonder, is this like a push? Is he saying this to push a revolution? Perhaps. But I will say, before you jump in, he said he's going to, this has been going on for 2 months now. We've been at this for 2 months. He has posted deadlines before. And at the last minute, he's retreated from them because, we are now negotiating. So is that a possibility that he's going to pull back again? Maybe this is a last ditch effort for the people to stand up for themselves. That's something that stands back in my mind.
But how can the president of the United States try to influence the people of another country to rise up against their leadership without providing any support, any kind of backing to the people? We don't, as far as I know, the CIA hasn't been in there for years training a guerrilla army or somebody to uprise or rise up against them. Is it appropriate or even sane for the president of one country to just anger the world and try and motivate the people of another country to rise up against their leadership without providing them any kind of support? And the other thing, and I wanted to bring this up with you because you've told me this before, and that is you have to look past how Trump says things and look at what he's trying to say. And I'm going to ask you, if these posts came from Ronald Reagan or one of the Bushes or any other Republican, would they be appropriate?
Of course not. I think with I think this is the times have changed. We're in a psychological warfare too. We didn't have social media. I mean, we didn't have the memes and all the things. It's a different. I think that in this time and age, Trump can communicate to the people versus infiltrating them with government, three-letter agencies, right? So I think that we have the ability to talk straight to the people, and I think that's what he's doing. I mean, personally, I'm holding that as in my thought process because I think from a humanitarian standpoint, strikes on power plants and bridges, could cause some really civilian casualties, and I'm
and they're also
that.
war crimes.
That's true, and which is being brushed off by the Trump administration. Of course, it's not a war. Remember, that's what he's saying. It's not a war. This is an operation, right? But you're right. I think that's being brushed off. So it just kind of makes me wonder, like, is this just, more of a psychological to get the people to rise up and finally maybe push them into a corner to negotiate? That's a possibility. We have stopped bombings before. I don't know if you saw, and then just before I jumped on, I was looking at, what was going on in Iran, and, they have their civilians on bridges and children and mothers and civilians surrounding power plants. And they let the world know that if they bomb those places, they're going to have civilian casualties.
You know what? That's kind of a moot point, though, because just the act of bombing, even if it's out in the middle of nowhere where the only people that could be injured or killed are the employees of the power plant, it's still targeting civilian targets. It's a war crime. There is no, he can brush it off all he wants, but it is what it is. And he's out there promoting the idea of the United States committing these war crimes, led by a guy who, Pete Hegseth, he is exactly what happens when you grow up on nu metal and vodka and Red Bull. He's not qualified. I'm sorry, none of these people are qualified to lead the country in any shape or form.
So I think this is all, like, right now remain to be seen. I think this is really, in me, we're on the borderline of, if this goes through, I don't know if I'll be in a huge supporting position as I was before, but if escalation, if we do bomb, and there is a military left, I think what's going to happen is it's going to push the war out because Iran's going to attack. Yeah, it's going to widen the war to other areas because they have vowed to attack, other countries in retaliation. So I think that's a possibility. Um, but it's so fast moving though. In an hour from now, we can say the bombings have been off. So I guess we're kind of at that point to
Has
see what the
Trump's
outcome's going to be.
has Trump's Board of Peace issued any statements on this or feelings on this Operation Epic Fury, or are they calling each other on their Trump phones, or has that happened? Has anything been said by this mysterious Board of Peace?
I'm not aware of anything. No.
That seems that seems to have fallen by the wayside once he started this war.
What did he say? It was going to start 8 their time or 8 our time? I don't even know. Do you know?
I am not entirely sure. I believe, and I've seen some, different interpretations of the time. I believe it is supposed to be 8 o'clock, like Washington time, so Eastern time.
Okay. All right. So we still have time. Hopefully, there are some movements on some negotiations. Um, Ultimately, a couple things do need to happen, and it's opening the strait because it's really starting to impact other countries. And I think finally Italy is sending support. I saw this morning where they weren't going to be involved at all, and now they're sending support to some surrounding countries that may be impacted if Iran retaliates. So that's a possibility. At least they're stepping up to the plate. And I think they have no choice to because they're dependent on that oil. So we'll see if any other countries step up to the plate to help get the strait back open. Hopefully it doesn't come to bombing and hurting any civilians in the process.
Boy, that could potentially put countries like that in an odd position, doesn't it? I mean, they're not really involved in this. If they have to go and attack Iran because they need oil, and all of it started because of Trump, it's a very odd position to be in for another country.
Well, it is. I think I also saw that Iran put out what countries would be impacted if their nuclear plant, well, not nuclear, their plants went down. And it goes out to, as far as Italy. So it could potentially impact bordering countries. Now they're talking about decimating. They could be down for years to rebuild their grid. And that's a scary situation because that it does put them back into the dark ages, doesn't it?
But is that the United States position? Is that our call to make? I mean, the big thing now is we've heard for 20, 30 years, they're one step away from a nuclear weapon. They're one step away from, having these bombs. I grew up with that. That's we don't really know how close they've ever been, and I'm not defending Iran. I mean the leadership of Iran is not. It's not a good regime. The people there are not necessarily well treated. It's not like America, but it kind of goes back to. Are we the world police?
It's a culture war. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that we ever should have got in the mix of this. I think that Trump was pulled in. Obviously, we know Israel. We have been befriended Israel for such a long time that they've become depending on us fighting all their wars, and that has not stopped. And if we really bomb Iran, we take the blame for it when it was Israel's war. They're just using us to fund it, basically, which is really sad to me. I feel like we have one country that's trying to rule all of Europe for their own benefit. And I hate to go there. And I certainly don't want to get, pushed off YouTube or be, anybody who speaks out against Israel certainly is at risk, I think. So, I have to be very careful. Do I like Israel people? Yes, I have a lot of friends from Israel. Do I like the government? No. Do I feel like we should be fighting their wars? Absolutely not. So, what's your thoughts?
Well, you brought a question to mind. First of all, with Israel, I think everybody in the back of their mind, even if they're not ready to completely admit it, knows that Israeli intelligence is always skewed to benefit Israel. Now, that may get us taken down. I don't know, but it's the truth. When they provide intelligence to other countries, it may be accurate-ish, but they always present it in a way that makes them look like they're in danger. But I wanted to ask you, as a Trump supporter, or somewhat Trump supporter, you mentioned earlier that there have repeatedly been these deadlines that come and go, and Trump pushes it off. And he's mentioned the big tremendous gift, the expensive gift. At first he couldn't tell people what it was, but it was a great gift of importance, and that seems to have never materialized. But timelines get pushed down the road, things keep getting delayed. What happens now if in a couple hours Trump says, "Oh, we're not doing this. We're in talks," but then we have Iran saying, "We're not talking to anybody. Who are we talking to? Because we're not talking to the United States." What does that? When does Trump have to? I hate to use the phrase "pull the trigger," but he can't keep making these claims and these deadlines and pushing them off. He has to do something, even if that something is admit that he lost.
I think for his own credibility, that's what kind of scares me, is because I think we're kind of at that point where you can only bluff or cry wolf so many times that eventually he's going to just have to do it, right? Because he's already, implied that he was going to do it to show his strength. And I will say that, Iran has constantly threatened Israel and to erase them from the map. That is the truth. I mean, you see it. We're talking about not their people, but their government. Okay. So I do see in a way why Israel and Iran are having this problem. And they did not have nuclear weapons. They were 60% almost having nuclear weapons, right? So I think that Iran was going to attack them at Israel at some point. But then again, that's not our war, correct? That is not something that we should be involved in. So I understand why Israel wanted to go after them, because they've been threatened for so long. But we shouldn't be the ones having the operation. It should be Israel.
Or Trump's Board of Peace should be there negotiating some sort of peace deal where everybody can live in their own countries as freely as they possibly can.
I don't, quite frankly, I've only heard of the peace thing like once, but I haven't heard of it since when they first put it together. I haven't seen anything on the news or anything about it since they originally talked about it. Uh, So I don't even know if that's a real thing or not.
Well, it has to be a real thing. Trump charged all these countries money to join his Board of Peace.
Yeah, I don't think anything's of it. I think we're too busy fighting a war for Israel right now.
Yeah, we barely talk about the Epstein files anymore.
You know what? It's a waste of your time. It is absolutely a waste of anybody's time because nothing's going to be done about it. I think Americans just have to come to the conclusion that we will never, we will never see. Um, maybe there'll be a movie about it in 50 years, and the truth will come out after everybody's been long gone and dead, and that way, people's egos aren't or arrests happen. So I think that we just have to come to terms with it.
You know what, Kim? It looks like there are some things starting to pop off and pop up on the interwebs here. So how about we end this for now and go do a little bit of research and see what's going on, and maybe we'll come back later, either you and I or and we will provide another update if anything serious happens.
I think we'll jump back on later and talk about what did or did not happen. I think that's a plan.
That sounds good. My name is Everett Thiemer. That is Kim Gandy. And this is Political Dissonance. If you like what you've heard, put a comment down there. If you don't like what you heard, put a comment down there and we'll talk about it. We'll see you later.
The endless outrage cycles. We come from different angles, different starting points. We're not here to scream past each other. We're here